Thank you. So my name is Anete Skuja, and as Anete introduced, I'm an exhibition project manager and curator at the National Library of Latvia. I work at the exhibition center, and it's an in-house facility responsible for both large-scale and smaller-scale exhibitions in this library. And the center itself consists of the head of the center, of course, two project managers / curators, because we sometimes change our roles depending on the project. And so we have also 3 designers and 2 technicians. But perhaps nowadays the title of exhibition center might be slightly misleading, because, for example, our designers also design books published by the library and also create graphic design for souvenirs, events, exhibitions, etc. So in collaboration with designers, project managers, curators, also contemporary artists, researchers from the National Library, or invited experts from other memory institutions, exhibitions are curated that seek to uncover contemporary relevance and compelling narratives within the unique legacy of the past. These exhibitions engage the imagination and provides conditions for new and meaningful experiences. We create exhibitions exploring and interpreting the library's collections and research done either by the library or in other memory institutions, as well as curate exhibitions by contemporary artists, which I also talk about. So, as my presentation title might suggest, this will not be a presentation on the written word, or books, or authors, publishing, or literature. Although there might be some books in the exhibitions, they are not the main story. But rather, this presentation will be about exhibitions that we have created during created using the library's special collections, such as graphic art, rarities, amphora, audiovisual or sound materials as a source for inspiration or as a source for interpretation. So firstly, I will introduce my own work at the library, because I have mostly created exhibitions that only show special collections, mainly using art, music, or audiovisual materials. But at the second part of my presentation, I will also show the work of my colleagues that, in my opinion, are great examples for contemporary library exhibitions using special collection. So the story about myself. I started working at the library almost 4 years ago, and one of my first projects was to create an exhibition about a very influential and famous theater and cinema scholar, Valentīna Freiman. She was a very influential figure in Latvia because during the Soviet occupation, she was bringing Western cinema and theater practices behind the Iron Curtain. And for a whole generation, she was a sort of window to Europe. And her collection donated to the library, both when she was still alive and after her death, consisted of documents, photos, books, personal correspondence, unpublished manuscripts, but also, for example, something like this. Personal belongings, so her makeup bag with her rouge lipsticks, and for example also a pink Nokia telephone, which actually I had as a teenager myself as well. And also a large collection of VHS tapes of copies of Western movies and theater plays, which she showed to students here. And perhaps this is not a very typical collection if you consider that it's in a library. So of course she was a scholar, but also she was an alive woman with a good sense of style and charm and love for bright red lipstick. you can't hear what she's saying. It's very, very silent. But before the lecture, she's actually saying, oh, I'm not used to being recorded on film, usually just on magnetic tape, so I have to comb my hair. So she wanted to look pretty. But also perhaps her love also stemmed from the fact that she was a Holocaust survivor. So basically, this is one of the installations of the exhibition where you can see the VHS tapes and also her lecture there. But we wanted to create a story about a live person, not only as idol, a scholar, but also a person who has a love for red lipstick or other fancy things. So we kind of created, because this is a small exhibition, we created these kind of two spaces. So kind of her inner life, because she was also living between Riga and Berlin. So kind of her inner life in Riga and her inner life in Berlin. There, where you can see also correspondence between her loved ones and etc. So this was kind of the first projects I already tried making in the exhibition. So the next project was also was at the same place, at the fourth level in the library, which is the level where audiovisual art and music collections are held. But this was about Latvian Song and Dance Festival. Does everybody know what it is? It's a large festival where nowadays more than 40,000 singers, dancers perform, come together in one of the largest amateur choral and dancing events in the whole world. So this is a tradition in Latvian culture already from the second part of the 19th century. But this tradition is still very, very popular. In Latvia, it is each 5 years. But it was also very important to keep this tradition alive at Soviet occupation time. So we actually tried to make a small exhibition with only 3 types of mediums or formats. So those were songs, posters of the festivals, and sheet music. And this is how it looked. You can play the song. So as you can hear and see, the main component was songs. There were these stylized horns or fanfares where you could go inside and listen to music, to 3 songs which were very popular in the Soviet times, and 3 songs which were very popular at the Soviet times but in exiled communities around Europe and USA. But my last project was sort of an evolution of all these exhibitions, trying to bring the recorded sound heritage and the library's audiovisual collection into a larger context of technological, historical evolution, as well as showcasing how recorded sound enter people's lives on how many different factors, such as social, economical status and wealth, music industry, new technologies and mediums, ideology, propaganda, and censorship affected access to music. So, if it's the sound that moves you. So this was a larger exhibition held in the first floor of the first level of the library. And before this exhibition, the audiovisual collection had been rarely exhibited mostly as a form of singular exhibits in larger exhibitions or small vitrine exhibitions in the audiovisual reading rooms. But with this exhibition, we wanted to create a large context to talk about sound heritage and its complicated local history, adding also exhibits from private collectors and other memory institutions, as well as collaborating with several contemporary artists. For example, a contemporary composer, Platons Burovickis, created soundscapes for this exhibition. There was also a cameraman made also a video, which we will see later on, and also there was a contemporary artist creating his own installation. Why did we decide not to only show audiovisual collection of the library? Because it sort of would show only a very official side of the story, not the story about censorship, about people trying to get Western tunes in Soviet Union when people were not able to officially listen to it. So the visitor could enter sort of kind of listening places, or and each of them is with this soundscape. It's interactive, and this is it was like an interpretation from the composer of how the sound would have historically, not the sound of the space could be. What's the sound of the space? So we created, I guess, 8 different design kind of little exhibitions inside the big exhibition, kind of also showing not only the evolution of the technology, but how this technology became more accessible to the people. So perhaps... So we started with, of course, the phonograph. I haven't showed it in the presentation, but afterwards we showed the saloon of the elite, where the listener was probably trying to find the miraculous orchestra in the horn of the gramophone, or perhaps the Soviet working class living room with some classical orchestra vinyl records in the background for the whole family to enjoy, or perhaps to enjoy music in a hidden bootlegger's workroom. The Soviet, copying censored Western tunes from the Western radio stations, which was muffled sometimes with the sound of a saw. Or perhaps he was copying smuggled Western vinyl records on magnetic tapes. The next scene, but I didn't show it, it's the discos, because in the discos also Western music was quite popular because of the bootleggers who copied these Western and exiled music. But perhaps also later on, when cassettes came into fashion, you can listen to music on the go and trying to find the perfect soundtrack for your journey. was a much longer video. It was on a loop where the man is always changing cassettes. And what happened with cassettes usually, one thing was sometimes the album cover somewhere disappeared and you have a random cassette somewhere, and then you had to perhaps you play the cassette and it's in the middle of a song you don't like, and then you can't press the next song. You have to listen to it or try to rewind it forward or backwards and try to find the right spot where the next song begins. So this exhibition not only tried to show the complicated past of how recorded sound and music gradually came into people's lives, but also how music was able to change people's lives even during oppressive times. But now I would like to show also different exhibitions, which I'm not an author of them, but the authors are my colleagues, and who have brought focus to spatial collections and brought them in new and even unexpected contexts in trying to imagine the future or reflect upon the present. So, as one of the projects I would like to showcase is the exhibition Arcadia to Mars, or in Latvian No Arkādijas līdz Marsam. For foreign audiences, this title might suggest an exhibition about ancient Greek or Roman history or mythology, or perhaps even humankind's aspiration to travel to space. But for local audiences, especially the ones who is living in Riga, this title would remind of places for enjoyment and recreations, such as parks. So the focal point of this exhibition was the unique historical collection of the Riga Gardens and Parks Trust, which includes original park layout plans designed by the most prominent landscape architects of Latvia. So the collection features plans dating from 1880s to the 1980s, documenting the history of Riga parks from romantic and idyllic oases to symmetrical green spaces at Soviet residential areas. So the audience could uncover the previously hidden collection, because this was the first exhibition where these plans were displayed publicly in an interactive way by a very familiar daily activity, by drawing the curtains open. By uncovering the history of the parks, the exhibition at the same time highlights and frames the collection in a larger context, viewing city parks and green areas through the prism of protest, politics and activism, raising questions of what the future holds for the city parks and green areas in the time of climate crisis, politics and social instability. But at the same time, from these plans, you can also see how fashion changes. And for example, here you can see a mural by a contemporary artist, Lauma I forgot her name, sorry. But it's also a kind of a new way to imagine parks. But another exhibition I would like to highlight is Before Baroque. So the inspiration for this exhibition was the library's vast 17th century graphic art collection, full of impressive craftsmanship and layers upon layers of symbols, meanings and topics. Although we have had exhibition cycles featuring our graphic art collections, showcasing and introducing audiences to specific printmaking techniques, woodcuts, engravings, lithography, aquatint and mezzotint, this time the exhibition team focused rather on the theme of these 17th century graphics, Baroque. So although only 13 works were selected to be shown at the exhibition, they were set into a larger frame, a multimedial narrative of the core concepts that characterize Baroque era. The church, the absolute ruler, court festivities, and war. The audience could enter a sort of maze or labyrinth, unveiling different topics of the Baroque and ending up in the same place as the beginning. But to exit, you must go through a guillotine. But lastly, I would like to introduce a series of exhibitions in collaboration with contemporary artists. Although these exhibitions, which we saw already before, there were involvements with contemporary artists who made interpretations. This cycle is where the artist is interpreting the library. We started this model of interdisciplinary collaboration 5 years ago, allowing for experimental and unpredictable results and different interpretations of the work of libraries. So the first exhibition was by the text group Orbita 2020, A Perspective of Eternity. This exhibition focused on the core tasks of the library, the creation and preservation of collections. Orbita, with the collaboration with preservation experts of the library and biologists and material technologists from other institutions, used factors that were dangerous for the collection: moisture, mold, mechanical wear, light, decaying process of digital media, to experimentally age different media from 2020. Journals, brochures, calendars, music scores, flyers, and digital content. This exhibition raised questions about which creation will stand the test of time and what may become obsolete or perhaps even irrelevant, or on the other hand has to be preserved for eternity. So this is one of the process where the preservation experts introduce, I think, mold into the mix. And the last exhibition in this series was by Krish Salman, titled Elephants Tormented by Idleness. So it was an interpretation of the library's information systems. Having gained insight into the most remote repositories of the library and met with a wide range of library professions such as indexers, curators, historians, and other experts, the artist reimagined the library as a maze of mirrors with twists and turns, with discoveries along the way, the digital language of the universal decimal classification, or the banana boxes used to transport books. I would like to end my presentation with the words of my colleague Anda, who was a curator of this exhibition. The library is a constant motion, changing it with the world. New items are entered into its registers. Some books are discarded. Card catalogs disappear as new systems emerge for searching and finding what we need. Nothing is perfect in the library. It is alive, timeless, and full of human frailties. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a guided tour throughout the last projects of the 2-3 years here at the library.
5 years.
5 years, yeah. Yes. I'm bad at maths. I'll just love to read. That's it. I'm bad at counting. So, are there any questions to Anete? Any comments? Just a big thank you.
Thank you.
There is a question.
What's next for the exhibition center hall in my next project? My next project is actually with books. Try to imagine. It's going to be the end of the 500 years of Latvian books, so the ending exhibition with the first books of Latvian language. So that's going to be my next project, which will open at the beginning of November, marking also the date when the first Latvian published book was burned. But we will try to, there will be a lot of interpretations in this exhibition with a lot of artists, both who are with professional sewers and photographers, other contemporary artists. So that's my next project.
It's always good to bring people outside the library. It's also a strategical decision, because by collaborating by artists and designers from outside the library sector, we are attracting the audience that most likely wouldn't go to the library on a regular
basis. Yeah.
Yeah. And another quick afterthought, it's really interesting to reinvent yourself, because here at the library we have several exhibition halls on different floors. And it's not a rule, but somehow every next exhibition is completely different from the previous one, like 180% turn, which is really interesting for the curators, for the team, and for the audience, just to bring in something completely new.
Thank you. Yep.